Building in a Small Town, where we're talking to entrepreneurs, community leaders, policymakers, and more to find out how they're building things in small towns. I'm your host, Shelby Smith. Building in a Small Town podcast. Today, we're here to spill the tea.
Yes, let's do it.
Literally spill the tea. You just about dumped that all over the table. If you're not watching this, we just had a ceremonial tea pour from the teapot because today I am joined by one of my best friends who owns Red Dragon Herbs and Teas in Polk City. I have Mary Lewellin, the infamous.
The infamous. Here I am in the body.
Well, thank you for coming and sitting down with me today and spilling the tea. And we are drinking one of your blends.
Yeah.
What did I pick? I think
the detox blend.
Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I have.
Weird. So delicious. Who made this?
I don't know who makes it, but it's so tasty. Yeah, I have like 15 different bags of your blends from a couple different branding iterations, shall we say?
Yeah,
and so,
come a long ways.
Yeah, so when I asked you which one, and you were just like, whatever, I was like, oh, detox sounds good. Yeah. So that is what we are drinking today while we chat about tea business and building businesses and all of the ups and downs and the fun that goes with it. But, so let's start with, because, and this will make more sense. It makes sense to me. This is a conversation that Willie and I had the other day because I said you were coming on, and he's like, well, what are you guys going to talk about? I was like, well, we're going to talk about Mary's background. I said, because oftentimes, Red Dragon was inspired by Ryan, shall we say.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
But so like, I feel like your background gets left out of it. And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, well, example, do you know that Mary grew up in Alaska? And he was like, wait, what? I said, yeah.
I know a lot of people don't know that.
Yes, so start from the beginning on that one, because I think it's interesting.
So, so my parents met in Alaska. My mom was working for the Park Service, and my dad was working in a cannery in Juneau, I think, Juneau. And anyway, they met. They were both from Michigan area, which is kind of strange. They're both from the same place.
Super random. Yeah,
and so anyway, they got married, and along came me in 1983. And then my siblings, my dad ended up working for Hostess or Wonder Bread in Anchorage, and then we lived in Wasilla, which is about an hour away from what I remember. And I lived there until I was 16-ish, and then my dad wanted to change jobs, but he didn't really change jobs. He got a job in Des Moines at Colonial Baking Company, which is Sara Lee, and so it was like the same thing, different place. There had to have been some incentive, obviously, to move. And I remember being pretty pissed at the time, like 16, had my first boyfriend. You're gonna like straight up move me across the country, to Iowa. It's hot, here. Like I showed up in a sweatshirt, like a hoodie sweatshirt, and it was like hot July. Like it was horrible, So we go and we were living in a house in Milo, which is a little teeny town, and we're just out in the country, which, I didn't know what that even was, and...
You were used to wilderness,
yeah,
not country. Even
though we lived in like a neighborhood, our houses were far enough apart, you didn't really see people's homes, and like on a gravel road, but like, it was trees. And like you could walk down to the railroad tracks, and there's like a river, and like we would go play and do that stuff. We spent our entire childhood outside. I don't know that my kids do that as much, as I did. But anyway, I ended up getting a job at Dairy Queen in Indianola, and then so I didn't have to be stuck at home all summer. And I ended up my parents buying a house in Indianola. So I ended up graduating from Indianola, and I had met my older kid's dad, went to DMAC for dental assisting. And so I've been a dental assistant for over 20 some years now. I don't practice regularly, but I have my license still. And then I ended up getting divorced, and then I decided that I was done dental assisting. I had kind of reached my max in my pay for what I was doing. And it wasn't enough to be a single mom and support my kids. Like there wasn't ever enough, you know? And I just don't think that people realize that the value of a dental assistant and like the benefits aren't really there either as well. So I ended up deciding to go back to school for agronomy. So I quit my full-time job and I got a job at Jethro's Barbecue. I made more money as a waitress than I did as a dental assistant. It was crazy, but I kept my dental assisting stuff, you know, and I've filled in over the years. And I haven't assisted in probably 2-3 years almost now, but I just don't have the time to do it. And so anyway, I was at Iowa State for agronomy, went from DMAC to Iowa State, met my now husband, Ryan, and we found out we were pregnant with our son, Henry, who is 9, just turned 9. So he kind of put up and asked like, hey, do you want to be a stay-at-home mom? Like, you know, daycares, this is the cost of daycare, which like, if you look at the numbers now.
It's insane. Insane.
I don't know how people do it. It's like you work to pay for daycare.
Literally.
You have to.
Yeah.
Because it's not like people are making any more money.
Right.
You know?
I think there's a lot, especially the last 2 or 3 years. It seems like it's gotten exponentially worse in the last 2 or 3 years. It is literally a fact of like, do I make the choice to stay at home with my kid or do I go to work so that...
Well, I think too, like there's more people like deciding they want to run their own business. Mm-hmm. They want to figure out a way to be flexible. I mean, we could start a business, be at farmer's market, and I could still be at home.
Yeah.
You know, now it's not really like that. Like I'm working 40 hours plus a week, if not more during the holiday season, you know, and it's constantly going. Yeah. So I think to say or consider myself a stay-at-home mom now would be like ridiculous.
Yeah, but at the time, like it was a choice of stay at home or...
Yeah, I have like about, I think, a year left to get my agronomy degree if I wanted to. I'd feel a little out of place if I just showed up there because I was also like a 30-year-old pregnant woman hanging out in like a lounge area with like 18-year-old farm boys that would like talk about like partying the night before, and I would be like, get off the couch, I need to take a nap. You know, they would move for me.
Yes.
But that was a good experience. I learned a lot, and so then Ryan came to me, like we had already been growing a lot of stuff in our backyard, gardening, using a lot of herbs and stuff. And that was something that we really enjoyed. We both had kind of worked on getting permaculture certificates. So we knew kind of how to take the space that we had and turn it into something. So he was like, do you want to start a tea business, a loose leaf tea business? And I laughed at him. Like I did. I straight up did. Yeah, and I can't remember exactly how it came up. I always say like it was a podcast that he heard, but I can't remember. He's like, that's not entirely true. But anyway, we decided to do it, and one of the big hurdles was getting insurance for us. So I had to put out on Facebook like I was trying to get insurance, and a good friend of mine, she ended up messaging, multiple people messaged me, but the insurance company was like, what are people doing with these herbs? Like they didn't understand the concept of loose leaf tea. There was no like nothing. And it is kind of a unique situation.
Yeah, but it's also like you think about that and you think with people, and it's very, I guess it'd be American and
it's all over the world.
I'd say it's a British thing too. Like, what do you think of when you think of tea? It comes in a bag. You know what I mean? Like, you think it comes in a bag.
Even if we were bagging it, it's the same idea. Like, it's still,
1,000%.
Yeah.
But like, when I think if somebody's never heard of loose leaf tea, they're like, oh, well, like, what's the difference between that and a tea bag? Like, it's bagged. I mean, you know what I mean?
There is a difference. But yes, totally. Other than it being like, here's a loose product inside of a 2-ounce package.
Yes.
Or here is a loose product put inside of 20 little bags
yes.
in a package.
Now, absolutely, there's differences in like quality and
100%.
All of the things.
But still, it's the same idea.
Concept.
Yeah.
Concept.
Yes. It's like, anyway, we ended up getting insurance from her because in order to do the farmer's market, you have to have insurance. Mm-hmm. You know. So I think that's important. I think that's we tried to do everything we were supposed to do the business correctly, because we value that. You know, we want to make sure that we have a product and a safe product and all the things. We're following all the rules that we're supposed to follow.
Yeah.
You know. So we were at the farmer's market, and then this will be year 9 for us there at the farmer's market. It's
Wow.
kind of crazy. I know. It's crazy.
Wild.
Crazy. Yeah. I should have all of my shit together. I should know what I'm doing at this point.
Car's already packed. Kit is together.
I'll be there. So it has gotten a lot more streamlined. Like, it has made a huge difference. Like, you kind of have like your things figured out at this point.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you, like, thinking back to that first farmer's market, do you remember setting up that first time?
I don't really, but I know, like, even like we would kind of like both do it, you know, to have a baby over here and we'd be like doing all these things, but it's like we would both kind of do all the things together, you know? And so now it's like I got 30 minutes, you know, where before it was like, how early can we get there?
Yeah.
Like, how can you help me? How can we do this? But yeah, it's funny when you look back at pictures or you look back at things and you're like, oh wow.
Well, so I don't know if I ever told you this. I 1000% remember the first time I set up for a farmer's market, because so I bought my tent, I had all of the things, all of that. I showed up at this market. I think Willie was going to come help me because it was my first market, and maybe my mom was going to come help me, but this was Ames Farmer's Market, and I think it started at 8 o'clock. So I
think it's a little later, yeah.
It is. It's a little later in Des Moines. So I was like, well, I'll get there at 6:30. That'll give me plenty of time to set up, and I'll be good to go. I had never set my tent up before.
I think that's common. I think that's very common because people don't even think about it. You're like, yeah, I'll show up, I'll bring my stuff, I'll put it up. But then you see people like, they can't even open a table.
Yes, but you know? So thank God for veteran vendors, because one of them recognized with
the struggle.
Yes, the struggle, my Joe-eyed look of a brand new vendor who hadn't even opened her freaking
They still even help each other now.
Yeah.
When it's like they see you by yourself, and like I can legit do it myself, probably quicker than me staring around trying to like get somebody.
Yeah.
Now, but like I see that look.
Yes.
All the time.
Yes.
And then you see people show up with like certain weights and stuff, and I'm like, man, like
that's gonna be a problem.
You're gonna be using your insurance today, like.
Yeah, so that's why I will always remember it, because I just remember freaking like fighting with that tent, and finally a nice man from, I think they're Dusty Hill Farm. They're like right up the road in the State Center, and I actually don't even know the guy's first name. But every time he sees me,
you won't forget it.
No, I won't forget. And he came, I just remember him coming over being like, do you need some help? And I'm like, yes, please. So,
yeah. I mean, people are there for each other. That is like the best part of the community of like farmers market, which is good. And like, I think that's why we continue to go back. Yeah. Because there is that sense of like community, and that's pretty important.
Right. So you start this business, you get to your first year of market, you make it through, you learn all the things that you learn.
Well, in the market too, like, so we thought maybe we'd get like 1 or 2 days, because we heard it's really hard to do. Like, it's hard to get into it, you know, all this stuff. And so we thought maybe like 1 or 2 days, and we just like submitted the application saying like, we're available, you know, where now like I pick what I want, you know, and hopefully I get it. And so that year we were like thinking maybe 1 or 2 days, and it was like over half. Yeah. And we were just like, wow, like, whoa, we're like, this is going to be awesome. Yeah. And it was hard. And like, we'd show up with kids, and like, that was a lot of learning. Like, if I could find a picture and show like now versus then, or like a video of doing it then versus now, totally night and day. Yeah. You know, the things that like I have in like my bins to pull out, like somebody's looking for scissors, tape, zip ties, rope, it's there. I got it all right there for me, you know? Yes. Where like you can tell if somebody, this is like their first time, or they're just super unorganized. I don't know. Yes, either or, any of the above. It happens. I forgot bungee cords once, and you had extra. Like it happens, you know. Yeah, and that, I mean, like you said, that is the beautiful thing about farmers market, is there is within the vendor community, like customers separated. It's they help each other. Yeah, because we're all going through the same shit. Yeah. And we've all been there where we've forgotten the freaking bungee cords, or people forget to like get money, like certain things. Yeah. Yes. And like that happens. Like you can only remember so many things. And like I have friends who are like, I got a checklist. I'm like, I can't like
I have one in my brain.
Yeah, if I have to pull the checklist out, I'm probably gonna forget even where the checklist is. Like
sometimes the brain one malfunctions a little bit, but it's there, I promise.
Yeah. When I've kind of got to the point last year, I think was the first year that I was just like, meh, I forgot it. Meh.
Whoops.
Nobody else is gonna know.
Literally.
Nobody's gonna know.
Yeah, and nobody did. Nobody noticed.
I don't even know. Yeah, I mean, if I forget my money bag or like my point of sale, like that's different. But like, yeah, if I forgot a blend, it will be the day that everybody wants it, but it will be okay.
Yes.
You know, we have enough places they can find it, they can shop online, or I'll be back.
Right. It's not as, you figure out what really matters and what really doesn't. And I think farmers market, a lot of times we get caught up, I feel like, at least I definitely did, of like, do I have enough inventory? Like, is this the stuff that, and ultimately, like, whatever you have is what people are going to buy. Yeah, and I kind of, last year, that was kind of not the attitude I had, but it was, because it was just like, I was draining myself trying to figure out, like, do I have enough? What if they want this? But then it's like, okay, let's say you take 10 bags of that one thing, okay, and you sell half of them, you know, you had 5 too many. Right. You know, and like, why carry it all around or whatever? Like, it's going to be fine. Yeah. Or, and I've had this. It'd be cool to sell out, right? Like, how awesome is that? Yes, it's great to sell out. But I also had a couple occasions where, like, I had people come and like make suggestions of like, oh, like I want it, you know, it would be really good if you had this. So I made that and I had it for the next time. And then nobody comes. Nobody comes. Only for that one person who literally never come back to my booth ever again. And the funny thing is too is like I'll see them walk by because like I remember. I have it right here for you. And I literally like want to have a sign and be like, I made this for you, but I don't, obviously. But like I want to, and so I feel this. I feel it to my core. Yeah, it's fine, but that's why we have boundaries. Yes, and that's where I think figuring out that you need them. We find that out later, like year 8, like it's fine, you know. But like I think that's a big thing. Like you want to give everything in the beginning because you're just starting and you want to get as many sales, as many trusted customers, as much like as you can. Yeah. And we never really had like a goal of what we wanted. We just wanted a few farmers market dates, you know? And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, okay, people like this. Like, this is kind of cool. This feels really good. Like, we're selling this. If we don't sell it today, like it doesn't go bad tomorrow. So it's fine, you know? And that's kind of beneficial for us. It's not like we have cookies, you know, or baked goods or whatever. But the boundaries part, like once you realize like everybody wants something, you can't always please everybody. No. Which is really hard because you're kind of in the business of pleasing people. Mm-hmm. Somebody might be like, I'm not a people pleaser, but like that is what your job is. Right. Like you want to make everybody happy with this product. Yes. So I just can't. We used to like take bags of tea and deliver them to people's houses. Well, now it's like you take one bag of tea and deliver it to a house because you care, but you couldn't even pay for your gas or the time that you just spent driving across town, you know? So there are a lot of other options for things, and I can't say yes to everything. Yeah. And it's fine. And that's fine. Yeah. It is fine. And more people need to know that. But I still say yes to a lot of things I shouldn't sometimes. But but still. Work in progress. It's a work in progress. It might be more of like a 24-month thing, not a 12-month thing. Yeah. So, working on it. We learn. Okay, so you get into farmers market, and then when did you start like moving on to other events? So like craft shows or? So we did that, I think, like pretty much then, right, as they would pop up. But like some you learn, I kind of think back to some of the things we did. So like if somebody comes to me and they're like, I'm gonna do all these shows, blah, blah, blah. Well, for us, we don't do well at wineries, places where alcohol is. It just doesn't go well. Like nobody wants to talk about like their seasonal allergies, their lack of sleep, their stomach aches, while they're like out having fun with friends, you know? So we've learned that like that's not really the place for us. And it took a few years to figure that out, you know, because you don't really know and you pretty much want to try it all, right? And then we also went through the hurdle of getting our food license. So we didn't have it at first because we didn't really realize until we went to like an event and the inspector called and was like, hey, do you guys have your license? And we're just like, no. And like, we've asked questions, we've
wanted to know things. And like somehow that time he was just like, you might want to look into it.
Yeah. Well, and in your defense, like farmers market
it's totally different.
Totally different.
Especially here in our state, at least.
Yes, completely different. So in what a farmer's market and a like craft show, while they might look very similar and usually have about the same vendor sort of situation, a lot of people don't realize the licensing requirements for
the rules are different.
Totally different.
Yeah, and then also too, so we were selling online, e-commerce. Well, you have to have a food license for that. You have to have a food license for that. You have to have a food license for wholesaling products. So us selling products to grocery stores or coffee shops, and you have to have it to go to like other events.
Yeah.
Even if it's sitting outside and your tent's popped up and it looks exactly like a farmer's market, it is now, you
are now
a different event. Yes, now it's a different event. Yeah, but it's just the rules, and every state is different. Mm-hmm. And so I'm glad that we have it, because our business would not have gone further. You know what I mean? Or I think we've learned a lot from that, and it's given us a lot of opportunities for sure. You know what I mean? And I know that we're doing it like we're supposed to be doing it. But there's no real like, I feel like that's the hardest part, is there's no real like resource for it. Yeah. For what we're doing. It's kind of this fine line, because it's like a dried good, because it's not made into a food. I'm buying different herbs and mixing them into blends, and then they are taking it and putting the water in. I'm not even doing that part, except for the ragbri thing, which we can talk about later. Yeah. Good. It's a whole nother story.
Oh, that's fine.
But you win some, you lose some, so that's a loss. And I think it should be talked about.
Learning experience.
Yeah. But I think that people come to me and they're like, well, what do you have to do for your business? Well, like for us, like it was establishing an LLC, getting a bank account, separate from your personal stuff, and like getting the insurance, because you don't just need insurance for farmers market. Like the products we have in Hy-Vee, like they want to see that you have insurance, because it covers all the things.
They require, and that's the thing. Like a lot of these stores, especially the larger stores that you end up working with, they require you to have,
and the food license too, like all of it,
which all makes sense. Everybody's in the game of cover your own ass, and so it's like it makes sense.
Yeah. So that was that. That took time, and it took time for us to like push and find what we needed. Mm-hmm. And sometimes still, like, nothing against the health inspector, but like they'll come in and they still don't even, now I pretty much know all of them, but like,
besties.
Yeah, all their names, got their numbers, which I probably do, but if I have a question, I just ask.
Right.
And they tell you, like, we're not consultants. We can't give you all the information.
They're not, but they are there as a resource.
Yeah, you're supposed to like tell me, is it good or bad? Should I be doing this? Should I not be doing this? Do I have to change my license? Because there's so many licenses. Yes. So if I wanted to like make a certain thing a certain way, I might need a different license. Mm-hmm. So you get to build those relationships. It's good. Good job.
That's a good way to describe it. Yes. But
they're not out to necessarily hurt you.
They're not out to get
But it's still stressful when they're coming around, even though you know what you're doing. Yeah. And sometimes I'm like, I remember my first inspection, and we had called and asked a whole bunch of questions. Like, do we need to even have a license? Same dude who called us at that event and said, well, look into licensing. So we're getting the license, right? We're getting the license now. But because we've been operating without the license, we get fined. But I didn't have proof that there was no like documentation of this.
It was a conversation, not in writing.
Every email I save them. Like, but it was like, okay, well, now we got the license, it's fine, but now I understand like why. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of those things with people going through the inspection or looking at getting their first inspection. That's always what I try to remember. And yes, there's always going to be nerves. And yes, we're doing everything right. And
I just had one, and I was like freaking out.
Same.
And I did nothing, like I had nothing wrong. He come in, and it's like 2 seconds later, and he's like, cool, blah, 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 done.
Yeah. But it's yeah, and I just had mine 6 weeks ago, and I had nothing wrong except for my husband's shit in the back of my building. But that's
his problem.
It's his problem. Different conversation. Outside of my building, different conversation. And we know we're doing the right thing. We know we're actively trying to not do the wrong thing, I guess.
Yes.
Like
we do.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean everybody. Yeah.
Correct. Does not mean everybody is, but like I always try to remind people, like they're not out to get us. Like it's not they have a job to do, and I would like to think, horrifyingly so, that we're probably some of the cleanest kitchens and setups that they inspect. Like I think about some of the restaurants and things that we eat at, and like I always kind of peek into the kitchen. And I just remember before my first inspection, when I think Willie and I were at a Dairy Queen, and I was like looking back as we like
Dairy Queens are a mess though, like ice creams flung everywhere.
But I just
like,
remember saying to him, I said, if these guys can get a license, I can get a license.
Yes.
Like I know this.
And they don't show up at that place when it's immaculate first thing in the morning. There's ice cream flung all over the place, like,
and they pass, and so but it's still stressful, and it's still something that doing business the right way is required of us. But so you get
I feel proud to say that.
Yeah, of
right?
course, and you should.
Like, and it's like this product is made in a safe space, and I can reassure you that it's not contaminated with X, Y, and Z, and
that your cats didn't put their paws in it.
So like, facts, because people are doing some interesting things at home these days. You just don't know.
And then I've had that conversation. I don't remember who I was just talking to. I think it's a chef. I think maybe it was a chef. Was like, yeah, you can't. We were just talking about how you can't trust anything at a potluck because you don't know who's.
I think too. Once you know the food rules, you're just like, ugh.
Yeah.
Potluck. I mean, I don't know. Do you have your food license?
Do you know what you were doing? But I mean, whatever. Life is.
We'll be fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll be fine.
Yeah.
So you guys go through the licensing process. You get your license, and then you're just kind of off to the races.
Yeah. So then COVID happened, right? So the farmers market turned weird. It was a drive up. Oh man. So we ended up doing like another farmers market some people put together, and that was pretty good. And then, honestly, that year I was like, I should see if I can raise our social media presence from I think we had 400 followers or something. Like it wasn't a priority for us. So, I mean, this is 2020. So I thought maybe I could raise it to 1,000 that year or something. I can't remember what my goal was necessarily. And I did. And it was just based off of genuine interactions. Like I would really just try to get to know people. I'd comment. I wasn't doing anything sneaky, just getting involved with people. And our sales grew, our wholesale accounts grew because people were still shopping at places. If anything, they were supporting small businesses more than they had before. Yeah. Because it was educated that you need to help support these small businesses. These businesses are going to fail because you're not going there. So I feel like our sales doubled that year, and in wholesale as well. And then the amount of places that we were in, and I can't remember the number, but it was maybe we were in 1 and 2 before that, but then all of a sudden it was almost 10, And so now we're at the point where there's almost 40 different places, and that doesn't include the Hy-Vees that have our products. Yeah. And so that has grown a lot since then, and we've become more picky on the events that we do, just because we have kids and life, and that has to balance out some way,
right? And so I kind of know the origin story of the brand and the branding, the early branding. So who designed your first logo?
Okay.
Oh gosh, I forgot about the junk. Tell the junk story.
Okay,
that's wild.
So Ryan was like, how about Red Dragon? So I'm like, okay, cool, because he is Welsh. And later we find out, I'm Welsh too. But anyway, he says he's Welsh, and he's so into this, and then
I have never seen him rock a frickin' Welsh flag or anything.
We have these things, okay? And I mean, he's been there too and everything. Okay, so anywho's, I was like, let's do this genetic thing. Let's spit in this tube and see what we are. Who are we? And then, so we do it, we send it away, and it comes back.
You're more Welsh?
Guess who's more Welsh?
Guess who's the real Red Dragon?
Yeah. So he sends this message on Craigslist, right? And he asks this guy to create him a design. I think it was like
Craigslist is dating it big time. Man, who uses Craigslist?
I don't know if that's even a thing.
Ryan does.
This was though like almost 9 years ago, right?
I know,
It was still kind of a thing, you know?
fair.
So I think it was either 50 to 150, something like that. We get a logo. And I don't even know that we really changed much. We're just like, okay, it is very masculine, like now that I look back. And at the time too, like it just worked, you know, but then the more we ended up doing, the more and more events, the more and more things we were doing, it's like I only had 2 logos. I didn't have a brand. I had a white background and like 2 logos. I didn't have anything to do anything with. So anyway, it was fine. And then I decided a few years ago, last year?
2021, I think it was 21.
2022.
Was it 2022?
I decided that I was going to rebrand. And then I kind of started to look at like, you know, like I kind of like stashed away the money. I didn't know how much it was really going to cost. You know, like somebody was like, yeah, I used so-and-so, like this famous person. And it was like $4,000. And I was just like, wow, that's a lot of money. Like, I don't know. But I was like, I'm prepared to like do some shit, you know, like I'm prepared to, I don't think they knew like I had the money to do it. I knew it was going to be a big investment, but I knew it could take things to like another level, you know? And I wanted to give it a brand, an identity, not just like Red Dragon with this red dragon on here, you know, there's not much to it. Now it's like everybody's seeing my face everywhere, and it needs to, our customer, our demographic is middle-aged women. And like, I am a middle-aged woman. I want a beautiful product. Like I'm more apt to buy something that looks pretty. You know, maybe I'm not middle-aged. I'm getting there. Like whatever your definition of middle-aged is, I'm on my way.
Bottom line is you wanted something pretty.
Totally. And attractive. And like, you know, somebody wants that. Like, I think I said foxy, you know, at one point. But like, I ended up working with Project 7. I actually contacted like a few places, I think, but I didn't hear back from some. And so I ended up meeting with them kind of just like as an interview. And it was amazing. Like I knew when I left there, like these women were my people. And like, I know it's their job to make you feel that way, right? Like I remember calling you and I'm like, they love me and I love them, we're best friends. They gave me soda water, you know, whatever.
They clapped when I came in.
They did. That was the best part. I absolutely loved it. Everybody should get an applause. Everybody.
Yes.
So they just spent the time. They had a very like way of doing things, you know. So it was like we filled out all this stuff, and I had Ryan fill out his, and I filled out mine, and our information was a little different based off of, you know, where we were at in the business.
And when you say like your information was different, you mean like where you saw the branding? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, was it like the general vibe?
Or they kind of ask questions about like, who's your competition? So, or like your demographics.
Oh, what did you differ on?
I can't remember things, but like, you know, like I actually like went into the webpage and I was like, this is our demographics, you know, or these are the specific people that are competition, you know, or, and it wasn't just for me, it wasn't just like 1 or 2 places close. It was like, you know, because
big picture.
Yeah, because we are in a store next to a big brand. I mean, you may not think that's competition, but if somebody's going to go in and look at theirs and look at ours, we want them to purchase our product, obviously.
Right.
You know? So, I mean, it would be Starbucks, you know, it would be these bigger places, you know? And maybe it's not really, but I mean, it is kind of.
Yeah, your competition is anything that somebody...
like tea business,
Well, honestly, it's anything that somebody could drink other than your tea.
Yes, 100%.
Any warm beverage.
Yes.
Or iced if you prefer. But.
Yes. So we kind of like filled that out, sent that in, they look at it, and then I can't remember if they came back with vision boards. Because I sent them, you went that one with me, right?
Yeah, I came to the vision board appointment.
I think that was the next one. So like, then they had 3 vision boards, you know, and it's not like I couldn't take them home. That was the hardest part. And I think that's good.
Yeah, because otherwise you would have sat there and you would have spiraled. You've been like, well, I like this one, but like, The
but
font on this one's really cool.
Yeah.
Like, you would have spiraled so bad.
And I think that I did pretty good. Like I had these like visions, I had like Pinterest things, I had internet things, and I gave them all this. So I had been kind of thinking about it.
Well, and they captured the vibe
100%.
so well.
Yes, 100%.
So well.
So the vision boards were amazing. I could have picked any of them. They were all great. I think we ended up picking some colors and moving them to another one and maybe fonts or something. But still, like, I didn't really have a brand yet. So then it was like another so many weeks or whatever. It was like kind of a long process, but like it had to be because you were creating something amazing.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't just Craigslist at this point. But oh yeah, I didn't tell you about Junk Stock.
Craigslist story.
Yeah, so I'm at this event called Junk Stock in Omaha. Weird, right? Like,
and I think it was 2022, so it was as you were going through the rebranding process.
Yeah, because I was showing this
For
girl.
sure, yes.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, well, look at this new brand, and then she's like, this girl's woman was inside of our booth looking at stuff, and she's like, this looks so familiar. I think my boyfriend might have made this design, and I'm like, really? It's weird, like you're in Omaha, but like I mean, it was Craigslist, so who knows, you know? Maybe they moved there. I don't know, like, you know. But I was like, oh, but I think I had just showed her, like, look what we're gonna do.
Yes. Sorry for getting rid of it.
That brand's out. New one's in.
It was fun while it lasted. Sorry.
She's like, oh,
That's great.
awkward.
It's fine.
Either way, so it happened. They went through all this process. They showed me logos. Then it was a matter of like picking out labels and packaging and stuff. And I also went through the process of trying to figure out like what I'm supposed to have on my package, because before it was just like our webpage and like the product name, you know, and the ingredients. Well, there's more that needs to be on there. And so like talking to the inspector, talking to like the inspector's boss, looking at the FDA guidelines. I mean, not that we have to stay in compliant with those, but it's like if somebody sees a product and it says a certain wordage, like anti. So we had an anti-inflammatory blend. Saying anti, just I'm going to fix that problem, you know, it's implied, versus saying inflammation aid. Well, now I'm just gonna maybe help you.
Right.
You know, and the wordage is kind of tricky, but I'm glad that I did that because now that's on the package.
Yeah,
well,
and that's one thing that I think people take for granted, like in food, drugs, anything that the FDA is involved in and a lot of other regulatory agencies, is I think that there's this perception, like, example with the with certified kitchens and things like that. They're like, oh, are you certified by the FDA? And I'm like, the FDA doesn't certify anyone. Like they're not like that's not what they do. I said you are inspected and certified by like your state or, you know, whatever governing body you're under. But then the other thing is like the guidance for what is supposed to be on your packaging, what can't be on your packaging, like it's not clear.
It's so hard to find.
And nobody's gonna come tell you
Yeah,
either.
and I was just like searching and like I would find like reports of what other people were doing wrong, and like I mean I was kind of laughing at some of them, you know, and it's like you're claiming that obviously this is going to make you lose weight or whatever it is, and like we all know, you know, that's probably not going to happen, but that is something people want.
Yeah,
so
for the record, this detox tea is not that.
It's not, yes, you're not going to lose weight. This is different. This is
not that kind of detox.
Calm down. But I mean, we really, so we had to kind of go through that, and like I was lucky enough to find one of the inspectors who, Kurt. Yeah. I don't know his position necessarily, or if he's just an inspector, but like he's very knowledgeable. He's been around for a while. Yes. And you know, every time you talk to him, you're gonna get all of it. All of it.
Which apparently he like, because I was talking to my inspector this time about him. He inspects a lot of the Amish stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah, which I guess makes sense, kind of, but but he's the one who's like responsible for going and inspecting like a lot of the Amish.
Interesting. That would be interesting.
Yeah. I can imagine that they also like run into some
interesting things.
Some things where I'm like, oh, you can't do that. But so sorry, aside.
Yeah.
Talking to Kurt.
But I mean that helped a lot. He was able to actually give me the things, because like I spent a lot of time on the FDA's webpage of looking what other people were doing wrong, which is like, I understand, but how am I supposed to do it? so that I don't do it wrong. So like I put a little disclaimer on there. And like we aren't monitored by the FDA, but if somebody picks up the package, I'm trying my best to put everything on there I'm supposed to do.
Well, and that's the key point.
I will fix it if it's legit wrong, and you can show me the information behind it, you know, but like I'm trying. I think one of my pet peeves is like not seeing ingredients. Like I can't have certain things in my diet, and I'm not the only one. There's millions of people who cannot have certain things. So if there's no ingredients, like I'm out. Yeah. You need to have that stuff.
It's the basics, and it's like and oftentimes like even if the FDA or your inspector came in and was like, hey, we have a little bit of an issue with this, like if you can demonstrate that you were not
fix it.
Or that you are not like actively ignoring the law sort of a situation, which does happen. Yes. But like if you can demonstrate that you are not, like your intent was, oh, I was attempting to, no, that doesn't necessarily get you out of it. They might still fine you.
Sure. Yeah. And the FDA, like that, I was just like, I'm reading things, I don't have time for this. So anyway, Project 7 was amazing. They were super awesome to work with. I know that I can email them if I need anything. I've kind of been talking to them about something else recently, and it's like they developed a brand for me. They ended up giving me like 5 or 6 different packaging labeling options, and I remember like I did take those home because I wanted to show Ryan, you know, and some of them were so far from my brand, but some of them were like close. But my mindset I didn't think about that when I started, of like, how is this still recognizable to people so that they don't forget who Red Dragon was before, like we just disappear, you know? So I ended up like taking a dragon from one package, cutting it out and like moving it onto another package. And I think what we have like came out really good. So it's supposed to look kind of, the background kind of has like dragon scales, but it's a tea leaf. So it kind of like all plays in to it, you know, and it doesn't look just like a Welsh dragon, but it's a beautiful, foxy, feminine brand, and it's appealing, you know.
But it's also not so feminine.
That
like your male, you know, customers 100%. Are not like, oh, look at this
girly
ass.
Yeah, it's not pink. It's not pink or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's on brand. Yeah. It looks good. Mm-hmm. It's appealing to anyone. Right. And I wanted that, you know.
But also captures the essence of what you were trying to communicate the whole time anyways.
Yes. So it's something you would want to gift to somebody.
Very giftable.
So that was a really good experience. It was definitely more than $4,000. But it was so worth it. And it like has taken it to a whole nother level. And then we have the option of changing or adjusting. They know the brand now. So if I want to switch from labels to a full branded package, they can easily change that, move things around and add that. And like they're there if I ever need to talk to them or adjust things or change things. Yeah. So
no, it was expensive, but it was the right way to do it. And it'll save you time, money, and heartache down the road as you like need to change things and things.
100%.
So like worth it. Totally worth it.
Yeah. So we did that, and that was like the most expensive thing I ever did for the business. Because I mean, like I tell people, we started the business with like, we borrowed like $3,000 from ourselves to buy tents, tables, tablecloths, product, you know, and it wasn't like, I know some people, I'm always like, I'm not disregarding $3,000. It's a lot of money, you know, but it was a start without going into debt. Right. You know, and so then like I saved the $6,000 or whatever it was going to cost me to do certain things, the rebrand. And so then I knew that that money was there to write the check, to do it, and that's what it was allotted for. And it was expensive, but like it's paid off.
For sure. Without a doubt. Yeah. But so then moving on from the giant rebrand and everything that went with that, then you took another like really big leap, which you had been talking about and thinking about for a while. Well, it seems like in the last, I would say 18 months. It was probably about 18 months ago.
We're talking about moving kitchens. Yeah. Making my own space.
Yeah.
Right?
So about 18 months ago,
I knew it.
Well, I knew it too, because every time you talk to me, you're just like, I need my own space. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, and then this one, you were sending me buildings to buy.
Yeah, I was like gonna buy a shed on like a gravel road, like just to be like, this is my new tea shop. My husband's like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, that's why I'm an entrepreneur. Like, I got great ideas. I'm gonna turn this little grain bin into like my tea shop. Yeah. It's like,
got a hole in it, we're good to go.
Yeah. But I was like, it'd be awesome.
So like 18 months ago, you really start looking for your own space.
Yeah. So we were in a commercial licensed kitchen. I mean, we had our own licensed shared kitchen space in Des Moines, the Mickle Kitchen, which is like a great place for people who are getting started or need a space that can't afford whatever rent might be. In Des Moines, to get rent or buy your own space is like astronomical, and like to lease places, it's nuts, right? And so I was just like looking at buildings, I'm like, I'm gonna move to Collins, an hour from my house.
Neighbors.
Like all these visions. Gonna be a dreamer. So we end up,
which for the record, just for everyone, I was actively talking her out of some of these.
100%. 100%.
I
looked at a place in Huxley. So we live in Polk City. We had just kind of moved there in the last few years. And I looked at a place in Huxley and I was just like, this isn't big enough. Like I knew, but I wanted it because I knew I needed it. But I was like, I'd be out of here in like a year, but I didn't really have a vision of what was coming either. I just knew that like I didn't have enough, even though I had taken over a whole room, I didn't have enough, and I needed something where I could come and go and I could have everything organized and easily accessible. So the place in Huxley was like, then I ended up looking at, I think that was it. And then so November of 22. I messaged a friend who was leaving a space in Polk City, and she had moved to a space on the square. And so there was this space off the square a little bit in a strip mall. And so I had just casually mentioned like it wasn't even really in my head. I was just like, had they rented that space? Had they leased that out yet? And she's like, I think there's somebody doing blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. And then I called or emailed, and it was instant. We looked at it like the next week. So November of 2022, we look. We had to go through a lot of shit to get that space. That was hard.
Yeah.
I kind of now, I haven't really thought about it. But from November until I think we paid rent in May.
I was gonna say, it seems like I don't even think you got
May or June.
I don't even think you got a mildly definitive. No, it was definitely before that because it was significantly before.
We got our license in May, I think.
Yeah, but it seems like you didn't even get a tentative, okay, this is probably yours sort of a situation until maybe late February.
Well, so it was definitely available. It was definitely going to be, but he was gonna hold it without anything for us, knowing that, because we are Polk County in Polk City. So Polk County has all these rules, and I had to look into adding a grease trap into my space
for your loose leaf tea business.
Yeah,
they're greasy.
They don't care what you're doing, but you're polluting. And I get that. I get that part. But it was also dude, I'm not putting certain things down my drain, And so we had to go through this whole process of making sure the space was even renovatable. And let me back up. So there's an upstairs and a downstairs. The upstairs is a storefront space. The downstairs basement area is where we wanted to build the kitchen. So it's 800 square feet down there. And same upstairs. And so it was can this be a kitchen? What do we have to do? And so I sent pictures to the inspectors. I sent them to multiple and to get their responses, and I have them printed and I put in my folder. So everything I did was right.
We are documented.
We got you. This light bulb is fine. Yeah. But I knew what I needed to do because I educated myself. I looked into it, I looked into that stuff. But I still needed the grease interceptor, which is a grease trap. That's about $5,000 to put that in with my 3-compartment sink and everything. So we got lucky that we were able to find most of the 3-compartment sink you helped me go get from a restaurant.
We learned how to use ratchet straps.
So gross, but like,
and it was like
it was so cold. It was horrible. But we carried that thing out. We put it in the truck.
Like bosses, and then we didn't know how to work the ratchet straps.
Yeah, and like you buy it from these auctions, and they're like, we will not help you. Bring your own manpower. Bring your own tools. So they had to like cut it off the wall. And we brought stuff. We didn't buy a freaking saw.
Yeah, well,
bring a saw with us.
I think I had told Willie that I was coming, and so he just like handed me a bag full of random tools.
We thought we were prepared.
Yeah, and then I mean, thankfully, Auction Man was nice.
He was kind.
He had a sawzall, and he just
cut that pipe
right off the wall.
Otherwise, it wasn't going anywhere. I would have had to go home. I would have had to figure it all out. But then we took it out, put it in the car or the truck, and then
couldn't get the ratchet straps to work.
And I was like, I don't really. It's cold. I would prefer to YouTube this and not let them know we don't know what we're doing.
But it was too cold.
But like, we're just gonna need to like get in there and just ask them to help us and just swallow our pride today, because we are two very independent, strong women. We will do anything ourselves. But we just had to sacrifice it.
Couldn't do it. And then they were those like bullshit bright green
The crappiest.
Menards
That
like don't even work. That like Willie, when I told him what they were, he's like, yeah, I hate using those because those like don't work half the time. I'm like, oh cool. We just set ourselves up for failure.
Yeah, I made it home. But I mean, like, so you buy these things from auctions, they're nasty. Like nasty, but like I worked hard and like cleaned those things. We got the grease interceptor, and so like the city or the state or whatever, Polk County was like, in order to get out of getting a grease interceptor or a bigger grease trap that's like $30,000, right? Like, to qualify for something smaller, you have to have like a physical restraint or financial burden. So we could have done the financial burden, being like, I can't afford a $30,000 thing. But because it's in a basement below ground level, the water couldn't flow out to a grease trap. It had to go up and out a certain way. So it was easier to do the physical restraint, but the plumber had to come, had to write it up, say why. I feel like it was just like not in the timeline I needed or wanted it to move.
Right.
You gotta be patient, but you also have to be pushy, because nobody's going to do it unless you do it for yourself.
Yeah, and then you had like the added thing too of I think that your Mickle Kitchen.
My other license is about to expire.
Yeah, and that's something that I feel like people don't realize either. You pay for your license for a full year, and then once you have that license, like if you move a month later,
yeah, you have to get a new one.
It doesn't matter. You're paying for a new one, and the other thing is if it's a new
it's
new
so
location.
Expensive.
I was gonna say new location. Doesn't matter if you've been licensed as a business for however many years. You are paying the maximum amount.
I think it's like $400 or $500.
It's $500.
Yeah, it's like, it sucks because that changed in the last few years. But it's like they're basing it off of how much money, like your revenue. And they're saying that you're gonna like start this business in this little teeny space, and now you're gonna make $1 million. Yes. So we want you to give us $500. I know there's a lot to go behind to like putting the application in place. Like, I understand that.
It was still, you were on that timeline in your ideal world, like your Mickle Kitchen one runs out, you
and
don't have to renew it, you move, you don't have to double dip.
Nope, I had to double dip. Yeah. I had to pay for my Mickle Kitchen and I had to pay for my other one, so that's added, But at least I knew I was safe, I was doing what I was supposed to do.
Right.
So then we ended up getting the space done and operating in time for RAGBRAI.
Yeah, so the stuff about RAGBRAI.
Well, also too, like we never wanted a storefront, right? Yeah. Like that's never been our vision. Still don't really. But like it just fell in our lap. So part of me is like, I can put rolling racks up here and store my product. It's an empty room. It's nice, it's finished. If I want to host a tea class, I can, whatever. So anyway, there we are. We have this space, right? So then July. So RAGBRAI is coming through Polk City. So I'm thinking like, we're gonna bank on this.
Yeah, RAGBRAI is a giant event.
Millions of people,
People
right?
are gonna want some nice, cool tea.
Duh.
Obviously
not.
Whoops. Shit.
So I get this master plan. I did pretty good.
You did.
I found on an auction site at a Long John Silver's in Waterloo I know.
R.I.P. Long John Silver's everywhere though.
Yeah, they are, yeah. Anyway, I found this iced tea brewing machine. I think that one I ended up paying like maybe $50 for or something. Like a $700 to $1,000 machine.
Yeah,
right?
They're like the big commercial ones.
Huge ones you see in restaurants. I go get it. It's missing like one thing, but on my way there was another auction ending in the same area at the auction place. And maybe that one was like $150, and then the other one was like $14, and it had extra parts to make up for it. So it was like under $200. I get these two massive machines, right? I ordered all my ingredients. I order bottles, because if you decide to you make iced tea. Well, now that I made the tea, that's fine. But if I add ice, now I'm changing the product and I have to change my food license. And RAGBRAI required you to have a whole separate license than the food license you currently have, because now you're operating on the street in front of your store. I don't want people coming in there.
Yeah.
You know, so I order all these bottles and I'm like, I'm gonna freeze them in 10 ounces. I mean, I was pretty smart about it, I think.
Yeah.
I borrowed a deep freezer and I bought a stand-up deep freezer, and I would freeze the bottles in 10 ounces. I know it sounds like a lot of work, but you guys, I didn't have to add any ice, right? And it's all profit. So I freeze these bottles in 10 ounces, and I top them with 2, cap them, put them in a cooler. And I didn't have to add ice to the coolers. I mean, it ended up, because I didn't realize how many freaking coolers I would need. It's so ridiculous, right? I'm borrowing coolers from every person I know, all this stuff. And like, RAGBRAI comes to town. Like, it's gonna happen. It's happening. My friends are coming.
You created like shirts.
A whole brand.
Like,
I know, I got it on my t-shirt. Like, I should have had it out. But like, this whole brand that like, you got teabagged in Polk City, like,
which is hilarious and perfect for RAGBRAI.
It looks good, it's classy,
yes.
It's awesome.
We are set.
We're set, yeah, we're gonna do this. We had a sign, we made a game where people tied like a teabag tennis balls, like in tea bags around their waist, and they had to knock the bottle over. We had microphone and music. It was legit, like we were there to party, right? And sell all this tea. I think I made like 2,500 bottles of tea, something like that.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was well over 1,500.
Yeah, it was a lot. I think I sold maybe 100 of them. We probably drank some, I don't even know. Like, it was pretty sad, you know? And like, that day kind of like, I didn't really hit me as much until like maybe the next day. And I'm like, what the heck am I gonna do with all this tea now?
Yeah.
You know? And like, I think I posted about it because, you know, with having loose leaf, we don't have temperature control. We don't have product that really goes to waste. It doesn't really expire, you know? And we ended up, I donated a ton of tea to some community fridges in Des Moines. People came and picked them up. We took them to people, and like, it sucked. I'm not like that butthurt about it, but like, it was definitely a learning lesson. And I saw that year that like a lot of people did things for RAGBRAI, like bought beer and stuff, and like people didn't sell it, you know? Like, I'm like, why was I not on the news for all my bottles of tea? You know? Like,
yeah,
you know, it sucks.
Yeah.
But like, that's part of the game.
It is. Well,
if you don't try it and you don't risk it, like, you're not gonna know. And like, it sucked. It was a loss. Luckily, I was able to freeze a lot of that tea, and I sold it at farmers markets. That was extra income for us, and I figured out a way. Like, I wasn't necessarily defeated. I mean, I gave away a lot, and it is what it is, but I also like tried to turn it around. I asked farmers market to come, and I only sold bags or bottles of tea that day. I mean, people were kind of upset because I didn't have everything else, but it was like, people came because I posted about like what happened, and I wasn't trying to get sympathy, but it sucked. And I don't think people realize that part of the business. If you don't come buy everybody's cookies, that costs them.
Right. Well, and it wasn't even, you probably ended up breaking even after.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, once I sold all the other bottles, like, I mean, honestly, I was doing pretty good. Yeah. You know, and so at farmers markets, I would take 100 to 200 bottles, and I wouldn't come home with any. Yeah. You know, and so it was hot. They were reddish pinkish color.
They were very pretty.
I put them on the table, people see them, it looks good and they want to drink it.
It looks refreshing.
It's caffeine free,
yes.
and it's tasty.
Why they didn't understand that on RAGBRAI?
Yeah, I can't. I mean, but then that takes you into like how the city arranges RAGBRAI, how they have businesses set up. Well, of course I wanted to be in front of my store, but like maybe if we would have put people in different places, or I would have been up on the square, maybe I could have benefited. You know, we moved to the square.
Yeah, maybe, but like
you don't know.
You don't know, but even like talking to some of those businesses that were actually like on the square,
it didn't take a difference.
They sucked eggs as well. Like it wasn't a huge difference. I feel like,
well, and I'm a RAGBRAIer.
Yeah.
But I don't even like, I go and I buy vodka lemonade.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm not even thinking about buying tea. You know what I mean? But like I definitely play that tea bag game, and I'd probably buy a tea bag. I'd probably buy a tea bottle of tea because I had so much fun. Yeah, and there's this one guy that like I can't remember his name, but like his posts still, he must be telling people, because I posted all the people's pictures and stuff. He must be telling people still about how much fun he had teabagging on RAGBRAI, because every now and then I'll get like a whole bunch of likes on that one photo. It's awesome.
Well, I can tell you,
you had fun, even though it was a million degrees.
It was like 96 degrees.
It was horrible.
It was so hot. 96 degrees and like humid.
Yeah.
And
I was just drenched.
It was hot.
Yeah.
Which was fine. Like I'm used to the Cricket Barn, so like I at least had that in my favor. But I did have a lot of fun.
Heckling people?
Well, basically what I would do is you had these stickers that said, I got teabagged in Polk City. And as people came into Polk City, I would ask them if they would like to be teabagged. And
it was fun.
It was so much fun.
Well, I liked handing the sticker to somebody and then just going, you just got teabagged.
Yeah.
And then I'd kind of laugh and walk off. And just like, their faces, like it didn't like faze them whatsoever. But because our brand is so kind of like, you know, pretty and like not like that, we don't really talk like that or do that. It was just, it's still, even the sticker, like in the brand, looks really good and classy, and you wouldn't until you look at it and really know what it says. So I think that's the best part.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and that's for me, and you know, we talk about this all the time, like me with my brand and the way I like always have talked to people, like I'm always real sassy. So
yeah,
like,
I can't be.
I know, it's totally in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So like I can say things that you can't.
Yeah.
And you know, you talk about sometimes you're like, I wish I could say some of the things that you do, but like it's not on your brand where it is mine. And so it was nice to be able to,
I could say whatever I wanted.
I know,
it was
great.
so much fun, and I had a microphone. Like I was living my best life.
Yeah. The only thing that would
just not like making money.
That would have made it better is if we sold more tea, but you know, it's just kind of
you learn.
What happens. You do learn.
And I figured out, like, I mean, and I involved my kids. I think the hardest part for me was it wasn't necessarily missing out. I think I got upset and I think I cried about the fact that I spent 8 hours there with my kids one day.
Right.
But I think also too, they helped bottle tea. I mean, my 6-year-old, he was 5, 6 at the time. It's like he was seeing what we were doing. And it was, even though we weren't at home hanging out, we were doing that together. And they are seeing that, and hopefully they're learning something from it, you know, as you see my parents working hard, you know. And my friends showed up and they tried to help me and try to do this. And like, I had support. You know, and then people came that day to the farmer's market and they bought a whole bunch of bottles of tea, you know? And so I think people genuinely care. It just, that situation didn't work out for me.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a but it all ended up
I think I
working
did
out.
pretty good, you know, coming out of that situation.
Yeah. Well, and you, like, rightfully so, had about a day where you were just like,
down.
Fuck this.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Yeah. What just happened?
Yes.
I can't believe that I just did all of this work. Like you said, you're like, I spent all of this time, I spent all of this money. Like, what the fuck? Like, and that's a totally normal response, and that is how anyone would respond.
Yeah.
So it makes entire sense.
I did a pretty good job dealing with it.
I think you did. I think you picked yourself up and you were like, okay, this is
what are we gonna do?
What are we gonna do about it? And so, and you were
everywhere I went, like I went and we do this like family meal thing with a handful of like entrepreneur business owners, and like we was like, you know, bring something for your meal. I'm like, I brought tea. Like everywhere I went, people are just drinking tea left and right. But like in in-laws freezer, fridge. Our friends' fridges are full of them. I'm like, you love it.
Yes, it's fine. It's tasty tea, so it's great.
But then the next focus would be, then we had the markets, we had some fall event stuff, our normal things, and then we went into kind of having a storefront for the holiday season.
Which, like you already said before,
we didn't want a storefront.
Your goal was never to have a storefront, and you still really don't want one. But like, you have this space, and you have this inventory, and you have this rent that has to be paid. Like what?
Yeah.
You had to try it.
So did it go? So I'm still kind of like recovering, right? Like recovering from it, and like so we turned this space into a beautiful storefront, because I don't think people know, but like if you go to events all winter, like it's same as farmers market. You load up your car, you take it, you have to drag it into a school, drag it into someplace to pop up. Your sales aren't guaranteed, just like they aren't with a storefront. But like you still have to like drive there, pay a booth fee up to like, whatever.
$350 for 3 days.
I mean, yeah. And like we would pay for the higher booth fees and pay for these events because it was beneficial to us. I understand that doesn't work at first, but like, and some people are like, $350? Well, like we're making all our money back in a certain amount. Like you can kind of budget it, maybe it doesn't work for you to drive there. Maybe it doesn't work, whatever it is, but I tried to source other products in. I did source other products in that weren't ours, but primarily woman-owned businesses, as local as possible. We did have some windmill coffee there, because I think that not everybody's a tea lover, and I get it, but it's a great gift idea. So like gift ideas, things like that. And then one thing that we did too was like we did pre-orders for things like cinnamon rolls with Stally Sweets from Huxley, where people would go online, they would pre-order their cinnamon rolls or whatever, they'd come pick them up from this day to this time at the storefront. So it kind of creates this like, you come here, you get your breakfast, you can go shopping, and this whole support. Because I feel very passionate about supporting other businesses, small businesses, but also mostly women. Like it's not that I'm just away from the men or whatever, but like I think that I understand.
Right. It is a group of your peers in many ways, and again, we're all
friends.
We're all on the same shit, and so like we know what it's like, and I think you did a really good job of curating the things that went in. Like you said, you had the coffee and stuff, but everything made sense or was complimentary. So you could build a wedding gift for your future daughter.
Yes.
That was
or like we added some like soaps, or we added lavender from Pepperharrow Farms, or like certain like mugs. We have a girl who makes mugs for us, and so she creates those so that they go on brand. You know,
had honey, you had lip balms, you had and then
candles.
Yeah.
And then one thing that we did was I added our consumable hemp license. So that has been something that I've wanted to do for a long time.
Ever since agronomy school, and then
pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. I wanted to, like, I remember Ryan kind of laughing at me because I was like, I want to own a hemp farm. Like, there's so much money in it. Like, we're gonna just thrive on this hemp farm. Boom, baby, hemp farm, dream down. Guns. So I had been kind of talking to Four Winds Hemp Farm out. They're over by Amana's kind of, and they farm their own, hemp there, and they make their own products. And so she had sent me some hemp flour to kind of practice making some blends, because I want to make a hemp tea. And so I've kind of experimented with and stuff. Well, then you realize like you have to have this hemp license, right? Like, not only do you have to have a hemp license to sell just products that you don't make, so that's your consumable hemp retailer license. There's a consumable like hemp processing license now, and then there's another one, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's all these, and they're expensive, right? Like that consumable hemp retailer license that I added was $500,
and that one is completely independent from your food license.
100%.
Entirely.
So not only did I pay my $500 for my food license and renew the other license, sucks that RAGBRAI happened, But then I also added this license, and it was kind of hard. Like, you had to go on, it switched from the Department of Health, no, it switched from DIA, which was like your food license people, to the Department of Health and Human Services, which then changed how you applied and like the process of it. It almost got more difficult because now like you could just go in, type in things, copy and put links. Now you had to put in a spreadsheet in a certain way. You had to break down each product. Each product has a special testing that it goes through. Like, there's this huge extensive stuff. So we added some products that are local. We added 4 Winds, and then we added climbing kites.
Yeah, buddy.
Yes, they're amazing, right?
Wow.
All of it's amazing. So we added all those things onto this application, and like I thought I was gonna like throw my computer across the room, right? Like,
I thought you were too. Honestly,
I was like, I'm done. This is it. Done. I'm done. This was like the final straw for me. And it ended up like I'm clicking submit, and it's like rejected. Like, enter, this number. I'm just hitting submit because I check, and I end up like, I'm calling my husband. And I'm like, I know what a whole number is.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is questioning my sanity. Like, what's a whole number? Just like, come on. Just like, he's like, well, maybe you have an extra space, or maybe there is a decimal, or maybe there's something. And I'm like, I've rounded everything. I put everything where I'm supposed to. And then like, who knows? I send it and it goes. And it was like 2 days I had my license. Everything that we have in the store has to be submitted to the state. They have to follow special rules and guidelines. They have to make sure that things are under certain amounts. It is regulated. It is legal to a certain extent, and I don't think people, they come into the store and they're like, how do you have this? You have to explain it, and that's fine. Like, I'm willing to educate them. There are benefits to this, and I think that I still want to make that hemp tea, but they changed some rules.
Right.
So now I have to go and I have to dig deeper. But it's gonna be fine. Like, I have some to play with and test, but like the thing is, what happens is like you create this blend. Now I have to submit it to be tested to make sure that everything in it falls under the guidelines, and that like the THC levels aren't, it'll be fine, but like they test for so many other things.
Yeah.
But once you add other ingredients, it can like sway some of the stuff, and like then the lady was like, you're gonna have to appeal to the state because you added X, Y, and Z, and there's a lot of hoops. And so I could not do that last year. Like, the bandwidth was gone.
No.
So I got that license. We added 20 cases of climbing kites to the store. The first order was 20 cases, 24 cans in a case, right? They were gone in like 2 days or something. Something like crazy.
Yeah.
Then, and my hours were limited. It was only like the weekend, and then the next week or whatever, I got 20 more, and those were like almost gone in like 4 days, and then I added more, and I still have some, but it's like people come in and like you see their eyes and they're just like, they're going for, that's what they're there for.
Yeah, that's what they want.
Yeah, and like people are looking for something that is an alternative that's more natural, and something that's an alternative to alcohol, or maybe taking a medication to relax. And I know some people would disagree with the cannabis, but like I think that there's a good place for it.
Oh, for sure. I think
so, yeah.
And it's I'm glad that Climbing Kites was able to jump through all the hoops and make that happen as well.
Yeah.
Like, to be able to come out with a product and have like a local Iowa product. I know Minnesota's got quite a few.
Yeah, and they I think that they actually have a farm. They make the product in, I think, Minnesota, yeah. And so like because they have to get it from the farm, all these things, but it's like I can't just go to Minnesota to get hemp flower to like bring it back here, because I still have to have it tested.
Right.
And every time they farm another crop,
they have to have it,
and you make another batch of it,
mm-hmm.
I have to test that again, and I think it's like $1,000 per product.
It seems like it. Well, and that's I think that's one of the, and I don't know if it's developed any better, but before in Iowa, like you can only grow hemp for like non-psychoactive, so the THC level has to be below 0.3%.
Yeah.
which interestingly, like that's how climbing
dry weight.
Yes, it's a dry weight. And so like that's it's a
little tricky.
It is, but as written, it allows for things like climbing kites to exist, and for them
so you're finding beverages, and people are like, "How are they doing this?" Well, it's because of that.
Yeah, it's because they are following the law as written in the 2018 Farm Bill. Like, and that is the law as it's written, and so it is legal. But like I know hemp growers here in Iowa, because theirs has to be below 0.3%, they are not allowed to harvest until the state runs the test and gives them the go-ahead.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. And then if the state comes back with a higher reading, you have to destroy that entire crop. It can be used for nothing.
It's horrible.
It's
kind of just messy. It is messy, and like, but I still like, I'm still gonna push for it. Like, I still think that, like, I got asked to speak on like a panel with climbing kites, and like part of me is like, ooh, I'm not like really like equal to like their level, you know, but I still feel like the hurdles I had to go through and like have to learn, and like everything's changing constantly, or you can't find the information. Like, it's not that easy to find. Or when you read it, you're like, what does 0.3% mean? You know, like dry weight, but like this is a beverage. Like, you're just staring at it like you're kind of just dumbfounded. You know, you have to really work hard. And since they changed who was monitoring it, the woman that was doing it at DIA was so amazing. Well, then they switched to the Department of Health and Human Services, and they didn't take her.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is like, because things are changing so much and so quickly.
They don't even know.
I was gonna say, the people who are supposed to be regulating you and have the answers, like they don't even know.
They were helpful. Like, I did get a call back when I was asking about some things, because I'm like, well, how am I supposed to submit this on here? Because like, I know it's supposed to just be black and white, but like it didn't feel that way.
Yeah.
Well, then I started to get like, now I'm getting like hit up all the time by like St. Louis and like this place and that place, like dropping off samples, which are amazing. I love it. They're so good. I'll take all your samples. But like, I also feel very passionate about supporting as much local products as I can.
Yeah.
And also too, like, I knew that I was gonna have that store for the holidays, and like we just did a Galentine's event, but like I need to not spend time there right now.
Yeah.
Like, people don't realize, like, from August to like, for me, the end of January, because like all my wholesale accounts restock in January. January is just as busy for me as December. I don't have a break. Like, I'm exhausted, you know, like my family, my friends, like nobody hears or sees you, you know, and like you just kind of like, that is your only life.
Right.
So it's hard.
Yeah. So how talk about that a little bit. Like, how many days were you open? 4 days a week?
I think I did.
I think you did 5.
I think when it got to December, I was just like, screw it.
Well,
I just wanted to give people, like, I was trying to give people options, and then like friends were like, if you want me to work, whatever, and I'm like, it's fine. Like, I'm working in the basement, and I can like come upstairs. I have a doorbell, so like some days weren't busy at all, and I was like, this is dumb. But like, I can't change that every day, you know, like,
be like, well, nobody wanted to come out, so I guess we're closed.
It's noon, I've only had one customer, so I'm done. You know, trust me, the thought came across my mind. But I don't think, so like, it's a destination. If I was in Des Moines, I'd be paying a lot more, you know, to be in my space. Maybe if that's what I really wanted, it would be beneficial.
You mean like a store, if you really wanted a storefront?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be beneficial. I would have picked a location, but I picked this because my house is a mile away and my kids are there. My husband works nights, and like, if the kids' school calls, it's me. Like, still, I'm not a stay-at-home mom, but I am the one that has to be flexible to be there.
Right.
You know, and it's just what it is. I feel like I had a lot of people come in for the holidays, super excited that we have a storefront, like so happy, and like it feels so good, right? Like, they're just so excited. You kind of forget you made that and they're excited for it, or it's helping them, or it makes them feel good, or they gifted to somebody and it made that person feel good, and you kind of forget that because you're so wrapped in the like,
well, you forget to appreciate it.
Yeah, because you're so, and it's not like I purposely put myself in this position. It just happened. of this like pure exhaustion
Yeah.
and like kind of disconnect where you're just like, I'm just trying to survive.
Yeah.
Every day.
But also, you can't like say that to the customer that just said like,
I love this.
Yeah, like I love your storefront. I'm so excited. Like, when are you gonna have hours in the new year? You can't say to them like, hi, I'm holding on by a string, and like you're the 15th person to ask me that, and every single one consecutively adds to my anxiety levels and makes me feel like a shitty person because I'm not as excited as you are, kind of a thing.
Yes. Well, so they would be so excited, and then I feel like I disappointed everybody because we've always tried to be transparent, but not like, I'm not gonna tell you all my dirty laundry, you know, but like last year I had a kid graduate high school, I had him join the army, and he left, you know, so like I'm dealing with that. I'm dealing with like the other kids, husband going on night shift, like all the things, rag bride, getting the storefront, hemp license, like just throw it all on me. And I was fine until you slow down enough to realize what, like you're not doing anything for yourself, right? But these people would come in, they're so excited, and I love that. But then they would be so disappointed when I would say, well, we're just having a storefront for the holiday season. We're normally at events. We normally have to go to all these places and pack up. But because of my son, because of my kids, I have another senior this year. Like she's gonna leave, you know, like.
And you don't want to miss her senior year. Like you want to be there for all of
as much
things.
as I can, yeah. And like that is why I have a business, to have the freedom and flexibility and work for the business, you know, or the business work for me, you know, and it hasn't done that. I've been working for it, you know, so people get excited. I kind of like disappoint them because I'm supposed to be pleasing them, right? I want to give them this option. But I think once they hear, like I shouldn't have to tell them my life story.
Yeah.
For them to be understanding. It should just be like, this is what we're doing for the holidays and that's it. But like I couldn't even really post that much about it because I was just trying to keep up.
Yeah.
You know, like I couldn't even, I mean, so maybe it wasn't obvious to somebody. Maybe somebody who Googled tea shops that day, which happens, saw I was there and that was their first time finding us. It happens. Like it happens all the time, you know? But like, so I've been getting DMs, I've been getting texts, I've been getting calls and emails and webpage DMs. And like, when are you going to be open? Are you open this weekend? When are you open? It's just a lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes. You know?
Well, and trying to navigate as well and balance all those things you said, but then you do have the space that is set up, you know, for
things.
The store, for classes, for whatever. It's like a figuring out what is that balance, but you know, you and I
what's going to come and go, what's going to work. This year that might not work.
Yeah.
But then I have, you know, these two older kids now are gone and I just have the two little ones. Now maybe that means I can have storefront hours, or somebody comes along and they're like, I'd work here on Saturdays.
Happily.
Yeah, but like I'm in a destination, I'm in a small town. The community is not coming to support the tea business.
Right.
You know, and I'm not trying to like put down any communities, but like we have Ankeny and we got Grimes. People are going to those places for things. We do have a lot of people coming to us, but they are also like, not everybody's gonna keep my business going.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that like we're not doing well, we can't pay our rent. Like we went into it knowing what we had would take care of it. The storefront was just an added benefit, right? And it went really well. But if I was to be open, you know, a week or so when it was freezing cold out, was anybody gonna come in there? I don't know. But I just sold my soul to being there for 8 hours, you know, like, I don't know. So the holidays happen, you're going nonstop, right? And normally every year we get sick, right? Like around the holidays, our bodies like shut down.
Also children.
Kids, like, everybody's got germs, you know? So like we normally shut down, we get sick. I didn't get sick somehow. I think I was just like too worried about getting sick. I'm like doing all the natural things, but my mind wasn't in the right place. Like I just shut down, like mentally, emotionally. And it was just like, I wasn't like, I'm not gonna do this, but it was just like, I need to not be bothered by this right now.
Yeah.
I need a minute to find who I am. You know, like my life is changing, things are happening, my kids are going places. You almost feel like you grieve them because they're off living their life. Like you want them to.
Yeah.
Like I'm happy for them, but also I'm missing, like it's like all of a sudden they were just a little kid and now they're gone. And I think anybody goes through that when that happens, like, and it's okay.
Yeah.
But just the whole combination, and you kind of like compress it and you just keep going. Most women and most women entrepreneurs do that. We just shove it under the rug and we just keep going. We don't have time to like feel the emotions of like,
right, we gotta deal with
shit, Ragbri happened. Well, I guess I gotta figure out what's next.
Gotta do the holidays, gotta hit this high-V order in, like gotta do this.
Yeah.
I don't have time to sit here and take care of myself.
No.
Like
like I wasn't going to the gym, I wasn't feeding myself right. Like I'd be at the store and I'd pack snacks, but then if somebody comes in, I'm not gonna eat. You know, like you're there all day, you can't leave. You know, I'm lucky if I go to the bathroom. You know, I don't want to drink because I don't have to go to the bathroom. Somebody might walk in. Like it's not good.
Yeah, it's not sustainable that way.
And people are like, well, just hire somebody. Well, I also agree on like a fair wage. So like what, you're gonna pay somebody a certain amount of money and you're gonna have one customer buy one $10 bag of tea. You can't even pay that employee for the 6-hour shift. There has to be that.
It's got to be a balance.
And maybe I just say screw it and I throw it in and I try it, but like I can't right this minute.
Right. Well, and that was, you know, we had had that conversation.
Like I already knew.
I would say pre-holiday season.
Yeah.
We saw this coming down the tracks.
It's like a train wreck waiting to happen.
Well, and like we both saw it for sure because we had the conversation multiple times, and you were just like, "Well, should I be only open these days?" I was like, and
I couldn't even decide what days to be open for the holidays.
No,
and then I posted, and people are like, "Shit, like you're gonna do that every day?" I'm like, "What am I supposed to do?"
Well, and that's the thing that I like. I would love for people to kind of get an idea of is like going into a brand new storefront where you never wanted to have a store, but you're here, you have it. Now, like, you need to figure out what's going to work and what's not. Like, you talked about it with markets earlier. Like, you just kind of said yes to every single market. And
you kind of have to.
You have to go through that process. But, like, coming out the other side, like, it's shitty. Like, you come out the other side and you're like, God, I would not do that again.
Yeah, but, like, I mean, I could have taken my friends up on that.
Yeah.
Like, you came and helped for Ragbri. Yeah. You know, like, you don't expect anything in return. Right. You know, I do the same for you. And like, I think that...
But we're also the last people to ask for help. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just, we are the last people to ask for help, partly because like, we're in the same shit. So we know what it's like. So we know what it's like to ask of like, hey, give us, I know how tight on time you are. Like, I know all the shit you have going on.
But can you come hang out, like drive this way, hang out with me for this, because I need a minute.
And 1,000% gladly would have done it again. Yes. And like 1,000%, if you would have called me around the holidays and been like, hey, like come, I would have done it in 2 seconds, sort of a thing. It's just, it's figuring it out.
Well, I mean, like, and it's like, oh, swallow your pride. Like, just ask for help. Okay, cool. Well, there's more to it. There's more to it. Like, these people are coming in, they want to know about these teas. They want to know all this stuff. Like, I mean, you'd be fine because you've been buying me places. Like, you know the brand enough.
Right.
It's like, I hired a new girl who wanted a job right around the holidays. And I was like, girl, I'm not normally this, like, much of a mess. Like, things are not normally this dysfunctional. I would have preferred to hire you in the summer, trained you.
Sorry.
I don't even know what to tell you right now. I'll pay you. Just find something to do. Yeah. But it was not a good time for that. Just like so many things change. And like, I think coming and learning of just like, we have to step back sometimes and that's okay. And if it doesn't work for all your customers, like the people that understand will be there still.
Yeah. And sitting in those feelings of worrying about your disappointing self.
Yeah. That has been really hard for me, for sure.
Well, and in the 5 whatever years that we've been friends, like that's always been a thing. Yeah. Like you've always kind of been that. Yeah, you're always worried about like, what if XYZ? You've gotten exponentially better. I will say you have gotten exponentially better about just doesn't matter.
Yeah,
not
like,
important.
what if I don't remember this for market? Whatever.
Yes.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
We'll get it figured out, but that doesn't mean that it goes away completely and thrown into a new situation to be expected.
Yeah, and I don't know really what's gonna happen. Like, I was open yesterday. People were waiting in their cars to come in. I had a moment where I was just like, this shop looks so cute.
I could totally do this.
Christmas lights are red and it's so cute in here and like it's so Valentine's-y. And then I was like, oh, I'm just here for like 8 hours.
Yeah.
I can't do this.
I don't want to do this.
Yeah, my head hurt. I was hungry. You know, I hadn't showered, like all the things. And I was like, this isn't sustainable for me.
Yeah.
You know? And so maybe, you know, last year I kind of told people like, we're going to do like events each month. Well, January, I just couldn't do it, guys. Like, I just couldn't.
The year of January.
February 1st, I did an event. And like.
That counts for January.
It's still halfway. But it was like, it didn't happen. You know, and January was National Tea Month. It didn't happen.
Shit.
It didn't happen.
That's
and
okay.
like, there's probably another National Tea Day somewhere. It's going to be fine.
Make your own.
Yeah, it's like Red Dragon Month.
Yeah.
But like, the store is set up. There's product in there that I pull, that I sell online, that I take to my accounts or whatever. And we like will do things. You know, I'm going to do other stuff. I know for sure there's going to be like a Mother's Day tea party events, you know, and doing the partnership with other small businesses works well. We did hand pies with domestic bones. So people pre-ordered the hand pies. She knows exactly how many hand pies she has to make. Sally Sweets, Haley knows exactly how many things she has to make. That way, she's not out 1,000 bottles of tea.
Right.
You know, like I understand.
Mm-hmm.
So I want them to have that, you know, and I want them to be supported. I could go buy cookies at Sam's Club, but, you know, this person, I can support their business in a way, right?
Yeah.
So we'll try to do some events. We'll do some tea classes and do some stuff. I think we're gonna do like a plant your own herbal tea garden with Pepper Haro. So that'll be fun and trying to incorporate things, and it's coming, but
You need a break.
I need a break, yeah.
And that's
okay.
Yeah, and it's okay. And it's okay if it ends up lasting longer than you thought it was going to.
Yeah.
Like, and that's where, you know, I like sat here on the sidelines, like as your friend, watching you go through all of this, like knowing like the weight of all of it, and like it just sucks. Like
when you can't do much.
Well, and it's
like you
one of
can
those
be
things,
there.
Like, I can.
Are
like,
you like about to cry?
I might
Like,
be.
just don't even. I got nothing. Because you care for that person. Like you would genuinely do anything for them.
You do.
And like,
and it,
but
I
you
knew
also
say,
understand where like an average person that goes to their 9-to-5 job maybe doesn't get it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they don't understand because they don't have their own stresses and stuff.
Right.
But like,
or
I don't get to just go home and it end.
Right.
It stays.
Or like I know like where you'll go to your husband and say something, and I'll just be like, he just doesn't get it.
No.
You know.
And we've kind of built this now, like the business is like my business.
Yeah.
And Ryan's there to help with things if I ask. But we've also kind of built this like relationship where it's like, are you just complaining and you need me to support you, or do you need me to like help you solve a problem? And normally it's just like bleh, where you get it a little bit differently. You're doing it.
Yeah. Well, and ultimately, I think like our husbands don't want to listen to all of our problems all the time, so thank God we have each other. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's some things. And like, I imagine Willie is so glad that I have Mary, because I think there's some of this stuff he'd be like, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know.
And some of it's hard.
Yeah. Well.
And some of it's just like, why did that? Why? Or why did this happen? Or like, you're not only just dealing with the business stuff. Like you are the secretary, you're the banker, you're the payroll, you're like, and you can pay people to do those things.
Yeah.
And like, we have people, but like at the same time, like that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Got to remember to pay people on this day.
Well, and that's all stuff that's like just the business. You know, forget, like you have a life outside of it. And like you said, you know, you have one kid that has flown the coop. You have another one that is going this year, like dealing with all of that stuff. Like I said, like I as a friend sitting there, like I have the 50,000 foot view, like you are in it every day, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I see all this stuff piling up. Like I can't.
How is she doing that?
Yeah, I know, and I know she's not, and I know like she needs that, but it's also, I also understand like the holiday grind of you don't get to choose that. Like this is your busy time, and this is when all. So
I put like an away email every year. I think I extended it further this year, and during that time, I'm glad that I extended it because I basically just had a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
And I don't think people really knew, and I haven't really told like a ton of people, but it's like I just sunk deep, you know, and like every type of like anxiety and depression symptom, that was me. And like, this is the first week I've been feeling pretty good, but I've been having to force myself to get up, to like do things, to fill orders.
Sun's been out too, that helps.
Yeah. Like,
it's been magical.
Yes. The other day I went and laid out there for like 2 hours in the sun, but it's like, you know, it's going to take time and it's okay to have that. And I don't have to necessarily tell everybody that. I mean, I just did.
Yeah.
But like, I think we have to remember that our health matters and like our lives, you know, we have a lot going on.
Yeah.
And that we are big like mental health advocates, you know, like people are constantly asking for donations and stuff, and it's like, unless it's to help support somebody's mental health or suicide prevention or something, like this is important.
Right.
But you know, you can only preach so much.
Yeah,
you gotta do it yourself.
Well, and I literally, maybe 20 minutes before you got here, I was just finishing up clips for another episode of another woman that I went to school with, that she runs business and has 3 kids and all that stuff. And one of the last things she said on the podcast was great. She said, at the end of the day, my businesses don't run well. I'm paraphrasing this because I can't remember exactly what she said, but my businesses don't run well if I don't run well, essentially. And so like, I think it's easy for us to sweep it under the rug and like be like, you know, whatever, I'll get to it later.
But just like responding to an email or a message or a text, like it's just like, oh, it's so much work. But like, that's not really me. Yeah. You know, like, yeah.
And rationally, it may not be any work, and rationally, it may take 5 seconds.
But it just like,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it didn't.
It's the mental load.
So it'll get better. But I think that trying to figure out how the business can work for me this year is a big one. And then keeping those boundaries, but then also making sure I reserve time for the things that I need. Yeah. You know, like the Collins deadlift competition. Like, duh. Like, I am going to be jacked. Bitches, watch out.
Jack and Tim, I'm coming for that gold shovel.
I got quite a few months to get it in, but I'm going to be there.
Maybe I'll make you your own, like, little bejeweled shovel. I'll make it red jeweled.
I know you're trying so hard, Mary. Every year you try. But I mean, like last year, like, you know, I've done it every year. Mm-hmm. So what, is this year 3 or 4?
This is year 4.
Yeah, so I've done it every year. And I think back to the first year, like I spent a lot of time working on myself. And I lifted amazing. It was the first time I ever did it. It was so awesome. I want to feel like that again. And that's a good goal, you know?
Yeah, well, and actually, if I think back to that year, you were in such, but you were in such a good place. Like you just, it felt like, you know what I mean? It felt like I was never worried about you. Whereas like now I'm just like, okay,
she's gonna be okay.
Yeah, she's gonna be fine, but like we just need to get her through this little bit right now. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that is my hope for you.
It'll be good
as well. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah, just owning a small business is freaking hard.
Yeah,
I don't think people know. Like, and I think we all are on like these roller coasters, and like we're going into year 9 of this, and every year is different. But I feel like since COVID, I mean, it sucks that some businesses, like, if I would have had a storefront, I don't know. Right. But like we got lucky and people supported us, and I'm very grateful for that, and it grew our business. And I put myself out there. You know, I tried things. Yeah. You know?
I was trying to think of it the other day. I think we met in 2019.
I was trying to figure out that too. Locally grown showcase.
It was definitely at Locally Grown, and so I blamed Jess the other day. I said, you're the reason Mary and I talk to each other every day.
No, we're just like attached at the hip. It's fine.
Yeah, it's completely your fault. So, just
hopefully she was fine.
Yeah, I think she was okay with that. But yeah, that was, I think, the first time we met is because your tea tent was right behind my cricket tent at that. And I remember not doing super well at that one because that just like wasn't my crowd, which is so funny because you're like saying at wineries you don't do well, and I was like, I think we met at a winery.
Yeah, we did. That one though, that event, like I never really did horrible.
Yeah.
Because she does a really good job, and people like
her kind of customer is your kind of customer.
Yeah, it works out really well.
Whereas
crickets,
you choose,
I don't know.
you choose kind of customer is not always my customer.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
That's okay.
I mean, there's a lot of moms there.
Yeah,
you know,
and
but
it's fine. But yeah, I don't know. So then, is that what you're most excited for in the next like 12 months? Is just kind of like do you?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, it kind of takes it away from the business, but like I think that I have to kind of think. You know, somebody's like, write everything on a piece of paper, and like, I can, but like,
no.
I'm probably not going to.
I told you to write one word.
Yeah,
I was just like, write one word.
But just like vomit on, like, what is it that's stressing you out? Like, what is it that's bothering you with the business? Blah, blah, blah. What do you need help with? And like, you know, I think that I need to kind of evaluate. Nothing's going anywhere, but I need to kind of figure out, like, normally I have a goal.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have one.
Well, and so like,
and not that you have to have one.
No,
but normally I have something that I want.
That you like want to work.
The hemp license, you know, the getting my own kitchen. Well, this year it would be nice to start the process of making that hemp blend, but I don't know if it's going to be feasible. You know, so like there's a lot of like stuff that I kind of want to change up to make it easier for myself. So we'll just see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, and I think. It's one thing for somebody to be like, just tell me all the things that are bothering you.
Yeah.
And whenever somebody says that, I'm like,
nothing. Blank.
No, it's more of you just added something else to my to-do list that I know I have to do. I have to tell you all of the things that are a problem. I have to, like, no, I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, and I think too, like, we've always tried to baby step things. Yeah. That's why we're in year 9 and this is where we're at. So, like, I don't have to go big.
No.
You know, you can baby step it. I mean, and it should be patient.
Yeah.
So be patient. You can buy your tea. It's gonna be okay.
You get your tea. It will ship.
Buy it online
in 3 to 5 business days.
It's gonna be alright.
It will ship. You send me an email after 2 business days. It's not gonna make me get it faster. I might wait until 5.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be alright.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks
so
for coming on and
thanks for having me.
Chit chatting. Is there anything else you would like to say to the world?
No.
Okay.
Be yourself. Find us online.
That's just next question.
Yeah, find us online at reddragonherbs.net.
Okay.
.com, whatever, one of them. It will route you. It'll do them both.
Okay.
You can visit our webpage and you can order online. You can visit us on social media at Red Dragon Herbs and Teas on Instagram and Facebook.
And
I have TikTok, but the TikTok is not.
It's not.
Yeah, you can find me there. I think I have in Twitter, but like I think I posted like one time ever.
Yeah, I think I'm on Twitter too, but
I think I have a YouTube too, and I think I posted once. But I mean, I can't see. That's what I'm saying. Like, look at all the options. So, Facebook, Instagram, webpage.
And if you're disappointed that she's not on the platform that you want her to be on, she does not care.
Yeah, or you do it for me.
Anyways,
find us. Find us there.
I think we'll call it a day on that one. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks
Appreciate
for having me.
it.